It's a beautiful winter's day here, perfect weather to go on a bit of a wander and show you what I've been up to in my garden this week. I just went to check on the chickens. I noticed that the coop was open, and then I remembered, oh yeah, my youngest asked could he open them up this morning. I was like, yeah, that's grand. Anyway, couldn't see them anywhere. I was freaking out thinking, oh, has something happened to them? But no, guess where they are? Over here in one of the raised garden beds, scratching away. They've stopped for a second, not sure why, but a moment ago they were digging around the dahlia tubers, which some in here I still need to remove and tag. Anyway, it's good to know that they are safe and well. The reason why I'm slightly on edge with them is because about a week or so ago there was a fox spotted in our area, only a street or two away, and you know, I do worry about them sometimes because they are free ranging chickens. They're allowed to go wherever they want around our property. I just don't want to have to keep them locked up all the time because there was a fox spotted. You know, I don't feel like it's fair on them. So yeah, they look fine. While foxes can be out during the day, they mostly hunt at dusk and dawn. So I guess, you know, as long as I'm really careful making sure that these girls are secure and locked up in their coop before dusk, and I only let them out in the morning after the sun is fully up, there's less of a chance of anything happening to these beautiful creatures. I did lots of clearing from this part of the garden. It doesn't look like much, but here is where I had those long rows of cut flowers. Before I came in here and mowed over everything, I did dig up a lot of plants, some of which I put into pots and others I put straight into garden beds, which I'll show you now. I had these 2 trays of Rebecca, which were absolutely stunning during the summer. Now, Rebecca is a perennial. I have only done it with one plant once. I've perennialized it in the garden, so I'm hoping now that I'll be able to do the same thing with these 2 trays. I've dug out this bronze fennel plant. In this bed there are a whole heap of transplanted snapdragons, which I actually chopped back slightly. I'm hoping they settle into this bed and come mid to late spring it will be full of beautiful flowers. I've been taking lots of cuttings from the Feverfew plants. Now some of these have been in here quite a while, and if I pull them out you can see some of them actually have brand new roots coming out of them. So all I did was simply took some cuttings off some of the Feverfew plants I had over in that section and just slotted them in here into one of the raised beds, and I'm hoping the rest of them will take, and then come springtime when they're well rooted, or maybe even late winter, I'll dig them up and either put them into a pot or into their new permanent location for the following season. I've just come over to this patch of Feverfew plants. Still got some lovely flowers on them. And I want to show you now how easy it is to take cuttings from these. What I do is I look for stems that don't have any flowers on top, and then I come in and see if there's any little side shoots. So say here for example, you can see this is where I cut one of the stems, and then along here there's this little shoot popping off to the side. So I'm just going to pinch it off like this, and there you go. That's potentially a brand new Feverfew plant. The next thing I do with it is I just strip off quite a bit of this foliage, because you don't need all of that. You really want the cutting to put energy into producing roots from here. So I'd say that's probably enough. I mean, you still want a bit of foliage on top for photosynthesis and for, you know, being able to release moisture so this cutting doesn't rot. Now you can also just dip the base here into some hormone powder. I didn't with the other ones and they seem to be fine, so I'm going to pop this into the bed. I'm just going to shove it straight into the soil. You know, this mightn't be the proper way to propagate Feverfew. I probably will do a whole tray of them as well, or put a whole load into a pot as, you know, a backup in case these for some reason don't survive. but it seems pretty simple. And I always look at it with plants, they just want to thrive, they want to try their best to continue to live, like us, I guess. I didn't get it on camera, but the bed where I had the snapdragons actually had heaps of little seedlings of larkspur. So I grew larkspur in this bed last year, and I noticed a whole lot of them. So I took a bit of time, dug them up, and I put them into these 2 cell trays. Now larkspur make a really nice cut flower. I'm hoping all of these grow well. I'm not sure what colour they are. They probably will all be blue, and I'll be able to use them in cut flower arrangements as well. This pile of plants look very miserable. I actually forgot about them. So I have here, these are statice, which I dug up. So I haven't tried it before, but apparently statice can be perennial too. So I'm going to transplant them and see if I can get some flowers out of them in spring. If those statice plants don't take, I'm not too stressed about it, because I do have lots of little seedlings here which I started from seed a while ago. I showed that to you a few weeks back. Now the thing is, I really should have potted these up before they got this big, because now that they are this large, their root system will be all tangled up in here, and there is a chance that I could damage some of the roots when I'm dividing them up and potting them on. So ideally I should have, you know, removed these seedlings from this pot when they were half the size, maybe even a bit smaller. I removed the pot, and yes, it's looking pretty pop-bound. Look how those roots are wrapped around each other. Hopefully now they won't get too stressed when I pot them up. I'll give them a good feed of sea salt, which should help with the transplant shock. Here I have some more Rebecchias. These are actually a Rebecchia I purchased as seedlings. They were quite expensive. I really hope that they, you know, they survive this winter, but they won't be doing much if I just leave them here. So I need to make sure that I plant them into pots very soon. I've also been moving some of the raised beds that are going to be in the way of the stormwater trench. So they're pretty easy to take up. I just pulled them up and left the soil in the same spot. I'm thinking I'll probably you know, put down some cardboard here, fill these up, and let these be possibly dahlia beds. I've calculated that I may be able to put possibly 6 or so along here, and if I'm able to do that, that should be enough room for my dahlias. We'll see though. Speaking of dahlias, I still have a lot of them just sitting here on the ground. Oh, and I know I don't have tags on these ones, but I've put them down in the order of what they were in the beds, and I do have you know, a little diagram of which is which, the names of these varieties. So I just have to get that organized too. Yeah, I'll have to brush off all the soil. Actually, I have this idea with the dahlia tubers. Might sound a bit mad, but let me know what you think about this. So I'm thinking, instead of putting the dahlia tubers into crates or individual pots, I could actually just put them in really tightly close together here in this raised bed, as many as I can fit, and then, you know, cover it with some soil, lots of sugarcane mulch, protecting them from the winter cold snaps, and maybe they'll survive over the next few months. And then that way, you know, yeah, they're very close together, and you know, they'd never grow to their full potential if I just left them in here and the whole of next season. But at least, you know, they're in here, they're safe, they're, you know, away from frost, and I should be able to dig them out and plant them around the garden next season. Well, that is about it for this week, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end. I will see you all again next Friday.